Good day, everyone. Again, this is Miss Jero. Today, we're going to discuss about the Chapter 2 lessons. So, before I start, I want you to get your notebooks or any notes that you have together with your ball pen so that while I am discussing, you do your take down notes. Okay, so what are the contents of this chapter? Number one, the market mechanism, the demand, the law of demand, supply, the law of supply, and the dynamics of demand and supply. Alright, so these are our objectives. Number one, familiarize with the concept of demand and supply. Number two, state the law of demand and supply. Number three, identify the determinants of demand and supply. Number four, explain how the forces of demand and supply interact to attain equilibrium in the market and apply the law of demand and the law of supply to different economic situations. So, in market mechanism, it also called as invisible hand. So, it is refers to the individual's actions, decision of economic agents that lead to maximum welfare for the economy. So, ang nangyayari lang naman dyan dahil meron tayong seller at buyer, kapag ka nakikita ni seller na tumataas ang demand ng buyer, ang ginagawa lang niya, dinadamihan lang niya yung supply. So, dahil nagkakaroon ng demand, si seller, no, nagkakaroon siya ng pagkakataon na taasan yung presyo. So, sa market or let's say sa palengke, 'di ba, um kapag tumaas ang karne, no? So, yung mga tindahan doon, they have the right to to increase their prices. So, na kay individual 'yun kung gusto niyang bumili kung gusto niya pa rin bumili or kung ayaw niya na bumili. So, pag sinabi nating market mechanism, it's all about trade ng money, ng goods and services na kung saan we have the forces of demand and supply. Alright, so what is demand? Okay? Demand is definitely a an action wherein we individual have desire to purchase the product. Ibig sabihin, dahil yung demand, paano mo masasabi na demand ng isang product? Kapag po, binili mo siya. Once na gusto mo lang siyang bilhin, pero hindi mo siya binili, actual, binayaran, hindi siya demand. Okay? So, what will be the law of demand? When the price of goods rises, the quantity of the good demanded will fall. Okay? Or what we call ceteris paribus. Sabihin lang yan, other things are held constants. Meaning, kapag tumaas ang presyo ng isang commodity, automatically, yung demand natin for that certain goods, bababa. Bakit? Kasi nga, mataas yung presyo eh. So, mawawalan ka na ng demand or mawawalan ka na ng desire to buy that certain product. Now, we also have the demand schedule. So, in our demand schedule, it is a list or the quantities of a good that consumers will choose to purchase at a different prices. So, yung demand schedule natin, ulitin natin depende po yan doon sa consumer kung kailan siya bibili. Okay, bibili siya bakit? Nakadepende kasi sa presyo. Alright, based on our example, no, as you can see, okay, this is a maple syrup in US. So, kung mapapansin niyo habang tumatagal, tumataas yung presyo niya. Okay? Start from $1 until naging $5 na siya. But if you're going to look here at the quantity demanded, nung mura siya, marami siyang naging demand. However, habang tumataas yung presyo, ano nangyayari sa demand? Bumababa. Bakit? Kasi nga mataas ang presyo. Okay, demand curve. Ano po ba yung demand curve? Okay? This is the graph of demand schedule. Mamaya papakita natin kung ano yung itsura niyan. So, the curve showing the quantity of good or services demanded of various prices or ceteris paribus. Each point on the curve, the total quantity that buyer would choose to buy at a specific price, downward sloping. Okay, so kung mapapansin niyo, this is based on the table kanina, no? Okay. this curve shows the changes in our demand schedule. Okay, yung schedule po natin, ito po yun, yung A, B, yung may mga point na yan. Okay, yung schedule na yan, bakit po tayo nagkakaroon yan? Kasi po, depende po kay seller kung magkano yung price na ibibigay niya. So, because of that price, nagbabago po or nagva-vary po yung demand ng consumers natin. So, as you can see, okay, in our y-axis, we have here the prices. In our x-axis, we have here the number of bottles per month. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, nung 4, with our schedule A, nung 4 po yung price niya, $4, okay, ang naging demand niya ay 40,000 bottles. Okay, and then, nung nagkaroon tayo ng schedule B, which is, ang nangyari, bumaba yung presyo, okay, naging $2 na lang, and then what will be the response of our consumers? Siyempre, dadami na po ang kanilang demand. So, in this case, okay, naging 60,000 bottles na siya per month. Okay, in demand, no, as you observe with our demand curve, okay, nagbabago yung curve natin depende doon sa dinidictate ng price. Now, how the demand curve shift caused by the changes or change in any variables that affects demands. So, wag tong kalimutan itong mga shift to the right, shift to the left. Yung rightward shift natin, ibig sabihin tumaas yung demand. Okay? Right shift. Shift yan. Okay, tumaas ang demand. Pero pag leftward, okay, leftward, ano nangyari? Bumababa ang demand. Next. Yan. Itong ano na to, itong table na to, the price of per bottle and the original prices demanded, it's also same thing nung table natin kanina. Alright. Now, ano pong nangyari? Kung mapapansin ninyo, yung ating new quantity demanded is based on the average income. Okay po? If before, no, the average income is $40,000, okay, nagtaas ngayon si US, example, ng kanilang average income, naging $50,000. Right? Doon sa price niyan, okay, if you're going to notice, yung original demanded niya, 75,000 lang. Why? Because the average income is only 40,000. Nung naging 50,000 na, yung kanilang average income, okay, mas lalong, dumami yung kanilang demand. Why? Because it's affect the average income. Alright? So, same thing pa din. No, tumataas lang yung nagiging demand. Why? Because you have the capacity to pay. You have the capacity to purchase more. Because of this, what will happen? Okay? What will happen? Habang tumataas ang presyo, ganun pa rin. Bumababa ang demand. Alright, so what is the representation of this demand curve? Ito lang po yung nire-represent lang po nito is yung previous natin na table kanina, na tumaas yung average income. Okay? Same thing, no? Nung naging 40, 60 lang yung kanilang naging demand. Pero nung tumaas yung average income, naging 80,000 pieces or naging 80,000 bottles. Considering yung price niya, $2. Okay. In demand also, the changes in quantity demanded. So, ano pong nangyayari kapag nagbabago ang quantity demanded? Obviously, kung mapapansin ninyo, nag-iiba po yung demand curve. Nagmo-move ito. It's either going to the left or going to the right. Why? Because this is the response of the changes in our prices. In changes in demand, the shape of the demand curve, it's also a response change in some variable other than price. Kung mapapansin niyo kanina, bakit po nagbago yung ating demand curve? Because the average income increased. Alright, so what are the factors that the demand curve will be moved or we're going to shift in different direction? So we have the income, wealth, price of related goods, populations, expected price, taste, and other variables. Okay, let's talk about the income. Okay, sa income, ito po yung amount that the person or firms earn over the particular period. Example, in our case, dahil wala pa kayong work, so what will happen? You're just dependent on the allowances that you receive from your guardian. So, example, yun na lang yung ating income. No? So, doon sa doon sa income natin o doon sa allowances natin, nagkakaroon tayo ng tinatawag na normal and inferior good. Paano po ito nangyayari? Okay, pag sinabing normal good, a good that people demand more of as their income rises. Example, kung allowances mo ay 100, tapos dagdagan pa siya ng 50 pesos. Okay? So, yung demand mo for a certain product, lalo pa siyang tataas. Example, you are a fan of milk tea. Okay? Yung milk tea dati, na isa lang yung nabibili mo, but because you have additional 50 pesos, okay, you can avail to milk tea. That is what we call normal good. Okay? Dumadami yung demand mo with a particular product because what? You increase or your income increased. However, okay, nagkakaroon din tayo ng inferior good. Paano po ito nangyayari? A good that people demand less of as their income rises. So, ganun pa rin. Example natin yun. Sabihin natin na you still love that tea, okay? Maano pa din, meron ka pa rin demand sa milk tea. Okay? Nung 100 pesos yung pera mo, meron naman talaga. Kumbaga, hindi ka umuwi hanggat wala kang baon nun or hanggat hindi mo yun nako-consume within the day. And then, nung tumaas yung yung allowances mo, nagdagdagan ng 50 pesos, ano nangyari? Okay? It's either, no? It's either ang nangyari na walan ka na ng demand sa milk tea, ano nangyari? You explore another taste with different kind of beverages. Alright? So, ibig sabihin lang yun, yung milk tea mo, na nagkaroon ka ng demand before, which is normal good. Okay? But because you increase your allowances, you want to taste different flavor or different variety of beverages. So, ano lang mangyayari sa iyong milk tea? Magiging inferior goods na siya. Ganito lang ang tatandaan. Pag sinabing normal good, yung demand mo for a certain product, kapag po nagdagdagan ka ng income or allowances, bumibili ka ng marami or dumadami yung demand mo. Why? Because you have the capacity to pay, you have the capacity to purchase. However, pag sinabi naman natin inferior good, nawawalan ka na ng demand doon sa normal good na meron ka. Or let's say, nawawalan ka na ng demand doon sa previous goods na meron ka. Why? Because lumaki na yung income mo, meron ka ng capacity to upgrade a new product or a new services. So, yun po yung tinatawag natin na inferior and normal good. Okay, so what will happen with our demand curve? Increase in income. So, kapag daw po dumami or tumaas yung ating demand for normal good, ang mangyayari sa ating demand curve is mag-rightward shift. Okay, kabaliktaran naman ng inferior good. So, kapag po nag-decrease yung ating demand, okay, for our inferior good, ang mangyayari sa ating demand curve ay magli-leftward shift. Alright, next, wealth. Wealth, ibig sabihin, assets, no? Assets ng isang individual. Anong ari-arian na meron siya. So, this is a total value of everything a person or a firm's own. So, for example, if you have your cash on hand, or if you have different bank accounts, if you buy certain stocks, if you have bond certificates, or if you own some properties. Okay? Pag pinagsama-sama mo yun, that is wealth. Now, at the point in time, ano mangyayari? Okay? At the point in time, dahil meron kang mga liabilities, dahil meron kang expenses every day, so, what will happen? Okay, somehow, okay, you commit yourself with home mortgage, credit card debt, or auto loan or student loan. Why? Because you think that sooner or later you're going to have this kind of cash, you're going to have this kind of assets. So, meaning, yung assets mo na yun, nababawasan siya. Okay, ulitin natin, ang demand po, nakadepende po yan kung gaano kadami yung wealth na meron ka. If you're going to minus or deduct all the amount that you own. Sabihin yung mga pagkakautang na meron ka. So, yun po yun ha, demand curve. When it comes to our wealth. Okay? So, increase in wealth. So, kapag po nag-increase ang demand, that is what we call normal good. If the demand will decrease, that is inferior good. Next, price of related goods. So, price of related goods, we have the two. Okay? The first one is substitute. The next one is the complements. Alright, so what is substitute? Di ba pag sa mga laro, substitution, papalitan, no? Meron tayong pamalit. Bakit? It's either yung product na original na commodity mo, wala siya or out of stock siya sa market, or it's either yung presyo niyan, mataas. Kaya, ang nangyayari, you go with the alternative product. So, yung substitute is a good that can be used in place of some other goods, fulfill more or less the same purposes. In here, no, a rise in price of substitute, so increase the demand for good. Kapag po nag-increase yung demand natin, what will happen with our demand curve will shift to the right. Okay, in complementary product. So, pag sinabi natin complementary product, you deals with two products, meaning you cannot use this product without the other product. Okay? Hindi mo magagamit yung isang product kapag po wala siyang partner na product. That's what we call complementary. Complementary. So, a good that is used together with some other good. Okay, what will happen with our demand curve? So, kapag daw po, nag-decrease yung demand natin for a good because they are complemented, what will happen with our demand curve? They're going or it will shift to the left. Okay? So, the next determinants din po ng ating demand is the increase in population. Siyempre, kapag dumadami ang tao, dumadami ang demand. Dumadami kasi ang pangangailangan natin. Dumadami yung kailangang ma-produce. No? Kaya po, ang nangyayari, once the population increase, automatically, the demand also increases. Alright, how about expected price? Ito po yung price na kung saan you are looking forward to change in the future. So, these are the expectations that the price will rise in the future. So, ano po mangyayari sa ating demand curve? The demand curve will shift to the rightward. Okay? Kapag po na-expect natin na yung presyo po niyan ay tataas. But if we are expecting that the price will fall, bababa yung presyo, ang mangyayari po sa ating demand curve is will shift to the leftward. Okay? Next is the taste or preferences. Ayan. Pag sinabing taste or preferences, depende kasi sa atin yun kung ano yung trip natin, no? Ng trip ng isang consumer. Okay? So, like for example, taste or preferences, before, di ba, nung wala pa yung mga K-pop, ano-ano ba yung mga uso, no? Before, yung mga trend, kumbaga. So, yung taste natin, o yung preferences natin, nagbabago yun. Depende po sa nagiging trend. Okay? Depende po kung ano yung nagiging in sa society. So, dito, okay, sa taste or references natin, the taste, change towards good. If this change, automatically the demand will increase. But if the taste change away from a good, the demand for that certain good will decrease. Bakit? Kasi nga nagbabago ka na. So, ibig sabihin, yung bagong trend, doon na ngayon nag-i-increase yung demand mo. Yung luma, wala na. Hindi na nagiging demand. Okay? Next po tayo is the other shape variables, which is the government subsidies and the demand. Okay, next we have the other shape variables. So what is the government subsidies? This is the benefits given to the individual or businesses or institution, usually by the government. Okay? It is usually in a form of cash payment or tax reduction. The subsidy is typically given to remove some type of burden, and it is often considered to be overall interest of the public given to promote a social good or economic policy. So, ibig sabihin lang yan, kapag po nagbigay ng tulong si government, what will happen with our demand? Diba, tumataas. Demand for goods po ay nakadepende somehow, no? In occasions, ang demand for goods, it depends on the commodities. So, dahil commodities yan, everyday, demand mo yan. Or if not, for example, if the goods is clothes, okay, yung demand mo nagbabago. Why? Depende kasi doon sa type of figures ng body mo. Baka nag-iba na. So, nag-iiba na yung demand natin for a certain goods. Alright, so, this will be our demand curve summary. So, kung mapapansin po natin, pansin natin, if the price fall, what will happen with our curve? Okay? It move rightward along the curve. But, if the price become high, okay, tumaas yung presyo, what will happen with our demand curve? Siyempre, pupunta na po siya leftward. Ibig sabihin, bumababa na po yung ating demand. Okay. So, another thing to summarize it all. Pag tumaas ang income or allowances natin, tumataas din po yung demand. Why? Again, we have the capacity to pay. Next, price of the substitute products. Like what I said kanina, we always need to consider the prices. So, kapag po yung substitute product natin ay bumaba yung presyo niyan, automatically, somehow, yun yung mas binibili natin. Next, the price of complement prices. The price of complement goods. So, kapag po bumaba na po yung price niyan, automatically, tataas po yung ating demand. Population, tumaas ang population, dadami ang kukonsumo. So, tataas ang demand. Expected price, kapag po, ngayon, in-expect mo na magtataas yung presyo, anong gagawin mo? Automatically, ngayon pa lang, bibili ka na. Bakit? Kasi ayaw mo madatna na tumaas na yung presyo niyan. Okay? Next naman po is taste shift towards good. So, depende po ito kung ano na po yung naging references natin or taste natin with a certain product. Summary, as you can see po, if the income or wealth or allowances ay tumaas, what happened with our demand? Automatically, tataas din yan. Why? Because we have the capacity to pay. Next, price of substitute. Okay? Yung price of substitute, ibig sabihin po niyan, ito po yung alternative product natin. So, kapag po yung alternative product natin ay tumaas ang presyo, okay, what will happen with our original product? Tataas po ang demand natin. Kumbaga, you have your original product is A, your substitute product is B. Kung si B, na substitute product mo ay tumaas yung presyo, okay, magkakaroon ka ngayon ng mataas na demand for your A product, which is your original product. Okay? Next, the price of complementary. So, obviously, kapag ang presyo ay bumaba, automatically, the demand will up or we're going to rise. Next, the population. So, the more na dumadami ang population, the more na dumadami ang consumption, the more na dumadami ang demand. Next, expected price. Okay? Pag sinabi expected price, inaasahan mo yung presyo ay magiging ganitong halaga. So, in our case, if we are thinking that the price will increase tomorrow, okay, we are expecting that will happen tomorrow. Ngayon pa lang, magkakaroon ka na ng demand or tataas na yung demand mo. Why? Because you don't want to experience to pay more. Okay? Next, taste shift toward good. So again, depende po yan sa magiging preferences natin or taste natin. Okay? Whatever the changes may be, okay, the demand will definitely shift to the right. Okay, in another way around, kapag bumaba naman po yung income, yung wealth, or allowances na meron tayo, bumababa rin po yung ating demand. Why? Because we have limited capacity to purchase or to pay. Next, price of substitute. Okay. So, mapapansin ninyo, Ulitin natin yung ating product kanina. We have A and B. Si A, yun po yung ating original. Si B, yun po yung ating substitute. So, yung ating, kung ang substitute product po natin, si B, ay bumaba yung presyo, yung demand po natin kay original product, which is si A, bababa po yung ating demand doon. Why? Because we definitely buy the substitute product because bumaba nga po yung kanilang presyo. Okay? Next, we have the price of complement. So, same thing, no? Kapag tumaas yung presyo, what will happen with our demand? Bababa na. Next is the population. So, kapag po kumukonti ang tao, no? Kumukonti na rin ang kumukonsumo. So, dahil kumukonti na yung kumukonsumo, kumukonti na rin or bumababa na rin po ang nagiging demand natin. Next, expected price. So, kabaligtaran lang ito nung kanina. If you are expecting the price will what? Will low tomorrow, bababa yung presyo niyan bukas. Ngayon, wala kang demand. Bakit? Yung magiging demand mo bukas pa. Bakit? Kasi mababa yung presyo. Okay? So, this one is same thing with the explanation kanina. Okay, so, next, let's deal with the supply. Okay, ano nga po ba yung supply? So, supply is definitely a quantity of goods that you can offer with your market. Ibig sabihin, these are the goods that are available to sell. Okay, ibig sabihin, pwede na itong bilhin ng market. Okay, so this supply have or over some time period. So, yung supply po na yan, hindi po yan permanent. Bakit? Depende sa season, depende sa uso, depende sa availability of materials, and so on and so forth. Okay, so what is the law of supply? So, law of supply, if the price of goods increase, the quantity supply increase also. Kung mapapansin niyo, baliktad sila ng law of demand. Bakit? So, law of demand, kapag tumaas yung presyo, bababa yung demand. Pero pag bumaba ang presyo, tataas ang demand. In this law of supply, sinasabayan lang niya. Okay? Yung ship. Ibig sabihin, kapag mataas yung presyo ng goods, dadamihan niya ng supply. Parang ano lang yan in business per se, kapag mataas yung presyo ng isang product, para kumita ako as business, dadamihan ko yung supply. Why? Kasi mataas yung presyo No? Mas kikita ako. Okay? So, in our supply schedule, so these are the list of quantities of goods or services that firm will choose to produce and sell at different price. Okay? Or what we call ceteris paribus. Alright, so as you can see, no, like what I said, kanina kabaliktaran siya, no? Doon sa ating price bottle, mapapansin ninyo, habang tumataas ang presyo, dinadamihan nila ng supply. Okay? Next, the demand curve or the graph. Yan. Sa graph na yan, makikita natin yung different quantity of goods or services supplied at previous prices. Again, the supply and demand are dependent on the price. So, each point of the curve quantity that sellers would choose to sell at a specific price. So, upward sloping. So, ayan. Okay. So, in here, yan. Nung mababa pa lang yung presyo, okay, si seller or producer, okay, nakapag-come up lang siya ng 40,000 bottles. Why? Konti lang naman kikitain ko Kasi dos lang naman yan Diba? But, nung nagkaroon tayo ng Schedule G, what happened? Nung tumaas yung presyo, ay, ang taas na ng presyo niya. Anong gagawin? Magsusupply ako ng madami para mas madami yung aking kikitain. Alright, so what is happening with the movement of supply curve? So, caused by the change in price. So, like what I've said, everything is ceteris paribus, dependent on the prices. So, shift of the supply curve caused by the change in any variable that affects supply. So, kapag po ang shift ay pumunta ng rightward, meaning to say, tumataas po yung ating supply. But, if the shift we're going to the leftward, mean to say, our supply will decrease. Alright. So what did you observe here? So we have the bottle, the original quantity that we have in our table. the quantity supply after decrease in transportation costs. Yan. Ibig sabihin, bumaba po yung gastos nila when it comes to distribution. No? So, dahil bumaba na yung kanilang gastos, yung gagastusin sana nila para pambayad sa transportation, ginamit nila yung pera na yun para makapag-produce pa or para makapag-supply pa ng another quantity of bottle. Okay? So, ganun din, no? Habang tumataas ang presyo, madami pa rin or dumadami pa rin yung ating nagiging supply. Alright, so this graph representation of the table previously. So, mapapansin ninyo, okay, what will happen, no? Kahit po, yan. So, yeah, ito lang yung representation nung ating table kanina about the transportation cost. Right? So, if you're going to observe, yung price niyan, which is the $4, still the same. Okay? Tumaas lang po yung kanyang quantity supply because wala na po siyang, or bumaba po yung kanyang transportation cost. Okay, changes in quantity supply, the movement along a supply curve in response to change in price. So, change in supply, the shape of supply curve, and response to a changes or change in some variables other than prices. So, ito po yung mga determinants natin kung paano po nag-i-increase or nag-i-decrease ang ating supply quantity. First is the input prices, second, price of alternatives, third, technology, fourth, numbers of firms, fifth, expected price, sixth, changes in weather or other natural events, and the last, the other shape variables. Now, in input prices, pag sinabi natin input prices, these are the expenses that we have before or once we process a certain product. Kumbaga, ito yung capital mo. Okay? So, kung ang capital mo lang ay mababang halaga, obviously, makonti lang din yung raw materials na mabibili mo. So, dahil konti lang yung raw materials na nabili mo, automatically, konti lang din yung mapoproduce mo. So, whatever the thing that you are produced, kung ano yung total na na-produce mo, that is what we call supply. Okay? But, if you have if the price, okay, input prices, ibig sabihin, if the price are good enough or are fair enough with your raw materials, mas marami kang magagawa. So, dahil mas marami kang nagawa, mas marami kang pwedeng ma-supply. So, in this case, what would happen with our supply curve? So, the fall in the price of an input, kapag daw po tumaas yung supply, ang mangyayari sa ating curve is magre-rightward. But, if the price of our input will increase, what will happen with our supply? Automatically, what? It will going to decrease or what we call leftward shift. Ulitin natin we talk about input prices. Okay? Input prices, pag mas mababa ang iyong nagastos. Dahil mababa yung nagastos mo, marami kang pwedeng mabili, di ba? Mas dadami ang iyong supply. Pero pag yung presyo ng raw materials mo ay tumaas, kukonti na lang yung pwede mong mabili at dahil doon, kukonti na lang din yung magiging supply na meron ka. Next is the price of alternatives. So, ano pong meron dito? We have alternatives goods and alternative market. So, yung ating alternative goods, other goods that firm in the market could produce instead of good in questions. Alright, so, next is we have the price of alternative. When we talk about alternative, meaning to say, we are not just dealing with one goods or one products. Meaning, we have substitutions. Okay? So, the first one is alternative goods. Ano po ba yung alternative goods? So, like for example, ikaw yung producer. Yan. So, meron kang dalawang goods. Okay? Which is yung A and B. A goods and B goods. So, ang nakikita mong nangyayari dito sa dalawa mong goods, no? Tumataas yung nagiging gastos mo sa iyong A goods. Right? So, dahil malaki yung nagagastos mo kay A goods, what will happen? Mababaan mo yung magiging supply nito. At tataasan mo si B goods. Why? Kasi nga po, mababa lang po yung kanyang raw materials. We have alternate market. So in our alternate market, dito po, pag sinabing market, saan po yung avenue or place to buy and sell? Okay? So like for example, you produce goods. Now, when you produce goods, kanino mo siya ngayon pwedeng ibagsak? Meaning, kanino mo siya ngayon pwedeng i-distribute? Okay, like for example, in Malabon, we have Fisher Mall and MC. So, sa dalawa na yon, you need to analyze. Why? Because even though you have the same place, but different market. Why is that say so? Because the avenue is different. No? You need to analyze saan ka dapat mas maraming isupply. Sa Fisher Mall ba? Or sa MC? Okay? Kailangan mong i-analyze ilan ba yung mga pumapasok sa MC, ilan ba yung pumapasok sa Fisher Mall, saan ba nakalocate yung stall na yan, diba? So you need to think about the the demand of the certain market. Okay? So kapag ka may demand yan, doon ka ngayon mag-supply ng mag-supply. Alright. So what will happen if the price of our alternative will increase? So the alternate good or the same good in an alternate market. So mangyayari dyan, yung ating supply curve will shift to the leftward. However, pag bumaba naman po yung presyo ng ating alternate goods or alternate market, okay, ang mangyayari na po dyan ay mag-shift na po ito to the rightward. Next is technological advantage. So we all know that technology definitely works for us. So kapag po we use technology, mas madami po yung napoproduce natin. Either, mas madami napoproduce natin kaysa doon sa traditional producing way, no? And also, kapag po technology, mas nagiging cheaper siya or mas nagiging low cost. Why? Because your maintenance is not too high. Unlike people or unlike manpower. Diba? Time to time, may maintenance sila. Ano po yung maintenance nila? Obviously, the salaries, the benefits, the wages, so on and so forth. Unlike technology, okay, ang pinaka-maintenance na lang yan is every 6 months or every 1 year. So, yan. Next, increase in the number of firms. So, the more na dumadami ang nakitinda, the more na dumadami din ang supply. Next is expected price. So, if the price expected to rise in the future, okay, the demand or the supply curve will shift to the leftward. So, same thing, no? Kapag po ang presyo ay nag-drop or bumaba, okay, in the future, ang mangyayari po sa ating supply curve will going to rightward. Next, okay, weather and other natural events. So wala naman po tayo, we are very uncertain what will happen, no, in our weather. So kapag po nagiging favorable ang ating weather or klima or temperatura, ayan, mas dumadami po ang ani natin. Kapag tag-init, diba? Wag naman sobrang init kasi magiging magiging El Nino na, no? So the more nagiging favorable yung weather sa isang bansa, ang nangyayari po sa kanyang supply ay tumataas. But if not, example, may mga calamities, diba? Mga natural resource, yung mga calamities na mga bagyo, yan. So, nadi-destroy. So, kapag ka na-destroy, kumukunti po ang ating supply. And the other things are the government tax. So, the more na tumataas ang tax, the more na mababa yung ating pag-supply. Bakit? Kasi, habang dumadami yung supply natin, always take in your mind that pag dumadami yung supply natin, dumalaki din po yung nagiging taxes natin. Okay, so in summary, if the price will down automatically the supply curve will also go down, which is in the leftward. If the price will high, okay, so kabaliktarin lang yan, yung ating magiging curve going to rightward. Okay, so next, pag bumaba ang presyo ng ating mga raw materials or any inputs for us to produce goods, tataas po ang ating supply. If the price of alternatives will go down, automatically tataas din ang ating supply. If the number of firms will increase, dumadami ang nagtitinda, dumadami ang nagbibenta, dumadami ang nagpo-produce, dadami din po ang supply. Alright, so next we have expected price. So if the producer expected that the price of their raw materials will decrease automatically, they're going to increase their supply for that certain raw materials. Technology advantage and favorable weather, again, it depends on what kind of technology that we are using. Kapag po maganda or automatic, no, or advanced yung ating technology, mas madami po ang magiging supply. And same thing with our weather. If the weather is favorable, so it means that we can have a lot of supply. Okay, so in another way around, if the price of our input will increase, ibig sabihin mataas ang ating raw materials, konti lang po yung maaari nating ma-supply. Same thing with the price of alternatives. So kapag po tumaas yung prices niyan, syempre dahil mataas na yung presyo niyan, konti na lang, no? So yung magiging supply natin, konti na lang din. Number of firms, pag po unti-unting nawawala yung mga businesses, no? Unti-unti na rin po nababawasan ang ating supply. So unexpected price. Sa unexpected price naman, if we are thinking that in the future, no, or we are expecting that the price will going high, our supply is definitely go down. Next naman po is unfavorable weather. So, meaning to say, hindi nakikisama, no, ang ating weather. So, in that sense, kukunti lang po yung maaani natin. So, ang mangyari po sa ating supply, magda-draft. Any questions is highly appreciated. Thank you so much for listening.